Hey now, it's Ruben with Help Find the Others. I'm making this video for two reasons. One, I wanted to let everyone know that this Thursday, today is Tuesday the 15th, so Thursday, January 17th, is the 1 year anniversary of this channel. And my, starting the ball rolling with building this community. I, you know, I'm blown away by how far everything has come. I've been looking through all my old videos and stuff and just kind of seeing, all that I've talked about, all that we've talked about, all the people that I've met, made friends with, all the people that are starting to make friends, on our Discord server, the conversations that are going on there. And, this was never started to be an ego trip for me. I was just kind of throwing myself out there. I didn't know, if I got 10 viewers, that would be great, right? So I'm really blown away by how far we've come in a year. I'm, and in no way, other than me throwing myself out there and starting the ball rolling, I in no way attribute the growth of this channel to myself. It is all you, and I thank you. Anyone that has liked, subscribed, left a comment, sent me an email, told a friend, gave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, whatever you've done to make this thing grow. I'm forever grateful. Even if this stops tomorrow, it's been an amazing year, and that is that's all you guys. I think when I originally started the channel, I envisioned just having a channel that people could post trip reports to, and logistically, that never worked out. But when Stan approached me about the podcast, that's been perfect for that. The podcast, I want to, talk to you guys, and it's been allowing me to do that. Unfortunately, there's so many people that want to be on there that I want to promise to get to everyone, but it might be kind of hard. It's kind of, I'm letting everything take shape the way that it's just going to naturally do that. The Discord server that I mentioned, definitely you want to get on there. There's some real community building and conversation going on there that I can't keep up with making videos and podcasts. The real-time discussion and able to talk about the things that we like to talk about with other people that are like-minded and it's pretty amazing. So definitely the invite link for Discord is in all the videos. Check it out. So since Thursday is the anniversary, I also wanted to announce that Stan and I will be doing a kind of split camera live stream on YouTube. So kind of like a live podcast, I guess, where you can write in comments and take part in the conversation, and we'll just take it from there. So that's going to be probably about 9:30 Eastern time on Thursday night, January 17th. So if you're watching this later than that, the video will be saved. Go watch that in the video section. So I'm excited about that. If you can't get on at that time, we probably will be going for, an hour and a half or 2 hours, I would say. I mean, when we record the podcast, we go an hour and a half pretty easy. So I would say that the live stream will be no different. So I hope to have a bunch of people in there. So I wanted to put this video out to announce that. I also wanted to make a video and just, I looked through all my old videos to try to compile kind of a summary of 1 year of, me rambling and insights and discussions and whatever. And I've had a bunch of ideas, a bunch of different psychedelic, drug topics to talk about, a bunch of different, kind of philosophy things to talk about. And I don't know. I made a couple videos and ended up scrapping them because I was just like, there's so many. We've gotten to the point now, especially with the podcast, where I'm not an expert at all. I'm a storyteller and a communicator, but the podcast has shown, and the Discord server as well, that you guys know more about this stuff than I do. I think you just like hearing me tell stories or whatever. So I figured I would tell a story. And I wanted to tell the story of my kids because it's, I think it's a pretty good story. And it has a lot of synchronicity that we notice with psychedelics, but we fail to notice in our life a lot of times. And I think the same amount of coincidence and synchronicity that goes on that we attribute to psychedelic usage, we just kind of, it's always there guiding us, but we ignore it. So I just wanted to tell the story of my kids and show how synchronistic a lot of this stuff has been. So anyway, rewind about 10 years ago. My wife is pregnant with our first child, and we're a high-risk pregnancy. We have to have an emergency C-section about, a month early. And my wife was having like some kind of like chest pains, and they attribute it to preeclampsia, is what they told us. And they were like, we got to have the C-section because that's the only way she'll get better, blah, blah, blah. So my son is delivered. We stay a night in the hospital. My wife wasn't feeling any better, but she just wanted to go home. So we just went home. We're home for about a week. She's not getting better. In fact, she's getting worse. She looks kind of a weird color to her skin. She's sweaty. She has chest pain still. She's trying to breastfeed. I mean, it's just kind of a mess, And I mean, the first week of a newborn is pretty hectic anyway. But then on top of it, not feeling good, and then having a spouse that doesn't feel good, and you're trying to take care of it, it was just pretty hectic time, right? So, after about a week, wasn't getting better. It was even getting worse. We decided to go to the emergency room. So someone watches the baby. We go to the emergency room, and by the time we get there, my wife's heart is not doing well. Her blood pressure is insanely low, and her heart rate is insanely high. So they do all these tests. They stick stuff through her leg to go up into her heart, and she's hooked up to all these machines. And we go from the emergency room to the ICU pretty much immediately when they can't figure out what's going on. And just crazy doctor after other doctor asking me questions about this and that, and it's just crazy hectic. And they just don't know what's going on. And so after like being there all night, she's eventually sedated, and they're like, she's pretty stable now. You can go home and get some sleep. I go home and get some sleep, and I'm maybe home for an hour or two, and doctors call me back and everything. And so this goes on for a couple days, and then ends up with her being intubated and put into a medical coma. And this whole time I have a newborn. I'm in college, and I have 2 jobs. And I'm trying to juggle all of that stuff and go visit my wife who's in a coma. And this goes on for, a week and a half or so. And for most of that, like, she's constantly getting worse. Basically what had happened is her heart was enlarged, and they found out it was a viral infection. I forgot what they called it, myocarditis or something like that. And they just constantly were calling for like, I was either at work or at school, and they were constantly calling for, asking me to give them permission to try this and that. And I mean, it was just insane. A crazy amount of family came out and supported with watching my newborn son. And staying at the hospital, and we were like, there was always some portion of our family in the emergent or ICU waiting room. I mean, it was just crazy. Yeah, and honestly, I through therapy, I've come to realize that, and it took me 9 years from that event to eventually start going to therapy. I think I definitely got like PTSD from that. I handled it well because I had to, and I have this weird like mode that kicks in. Like when everything's okay, I'm constantly worried that something bad is going to happen. But then when stuff bad happens, I'm the coolest one in the room. And so I don't know why that is, but it is. And that definitely happened with this instance. So, thank God, through, the help of a amazing cardiologist, she was fine. Got to come home. She was in the hospital for a couple weeks after she was taken out of the coma. And, I still remember taking my son into the hospital for the first time to see her. That was... Well, I don't want to talk about it. I'll tear up. That's probably the most emotional part of the whole story. But, anyway, go back home. Everything's fine. The doctor, the cardiologist is like, you're going to be on medicine the rest of your life, but you should be fine. You can't have kids ever again, though. And also was like, it's going to be a struggle to stay active and fit because your heart is going to be very weak for the rest of your life. So, I mean, as we, go forward in our life, my wife ends up running a marathon after that, and being active, and she's still on a couple medications, but was able to get off some of the heart medication. Her cardiologist is like, you're basically a miracle. And, it's very awesome to whenever she does meet with him. I mean, she doesn't have to meet with her cardiologist very often. I think it's just once a year, but, he's like, he's still amazed out of all the stuff he's seen and dealt with, like she's a patient that sticks with him because of the scenario and everything like that. So as far as the not having kids again, because they also found out from this, she has like a autoimmune blood clotting disorder. And so her doctors were like, getting your tubes tied and going through any sort of procedure that isn't needed, we don't recommend. So, it was up to me to get a vasectomy. And, so I go through with that, which is a terrible, unless you absolutely need to get a vasectomy, don't do it. It's not fun. I could tell the stories, but, that's a whole nother thing. Like basically, like just to give you a funny visual, when you get a vasectomy, they put a sheet over you, and then there's a hole in the sheet, and your nuts stick out of the hole. And so that's pretty embarrassing to be in that situation anyway. And right when the doctor's about to do it, he's like, do you care if some residents come in to watch? And I'm like, okay, whatever, just get it done with. And then about like 3 hot college doctor interns, female interns come in to watch my procedure as I have a sheet over me. But anyway, that's that's just a funny part of that story. But anyway, I get the vasectomy, go through. They have one follow-up, and you have to give a sample. I get the all clear that it worked. I'm like, great. And they're like, if you want to come back in 6 months, you can. No one ever does, though. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I never went back. Fast forward a couple months, and my wife ends up pregnant. And so we go to all of our doctors. First we go to her OBGYN, who's like, you have to terminate this pregnancy, that this is not going to go well. And we just didn't want to hear that. We believed that this was, fate and stuff like that. So we went and talked to her cardiologist, and he was like, I honestly, under better observation, you'll be fine. I think you'll be able to handle it. We weren't prepared for the situation that arose. We didn't know certain things about your, condition and stuff like that. And so we decide to listen to the doctor that had the information that we wanted to hear, and decided to try to have the baby. So we, the amount of time we were into the pregnancy, I can't think of the number of weeks, but basically the same thing started happening again to my wife. And we ended up in the ICU again. And we were like a week away from being able to deliver the baby as a preemie and to keep it on life support. And so they were like, we have to induce labor and terminate the pregnancy. This is going south very quick, and any chance to save your wife, we have to terminate the pregnancy and not be able to save the baby. So we had to go through that scenario, which, if anyone has done, that's very hard. It's very easy to look at someone else's kid like, oh, it's just a bunch of cells. It doesn't matter. There's no soul. There's no life. It doesn't matter. But when it's yours, it's very different. Especially the circumstances around it, where we were like, this is meant to be. This is the Messiah coming again, right? And that's how we were in our head, that this is just completely meant to be. And we had found out it was a boy and named him and all of that stuff, So yeah, I was very hard for me to take. It was very hard for my wife to take, but she understood, and obviously she wanted to live. So, she kind of disconnected from it, was like, get that thing out of me kind of thing, whatever. I went home. She was in the hospital. And the doctor was like, we'll do it tomorrow, or we're going to induce her. It'll take a while. You can go home and get some sleep. It's going to be a rough day tomorrow. So I went home, and I think it was the first time out of all of that I just broke down crying like that, like out of the whole scenario. And my older son was like 3 at the time, and he was sleeping in his room, and we had already been trying to talk to him about, you're going to have a brother and stuff like that. And, I just remember going in his room and he was asleep, and I broke down crying on the floor of his room, telling him I'm sorry. And, I thought you were supposed to have a brother and you're not, and, whatever. I mean, he was asleep. He didn't hear any of it, but it was really, just kind of outpouring of like 3 years of pent up emotions. And then, pulled myself together and decided, okay, I need a drink, whatever. So I started drinking some whiskey, and I went outside and I was smoking a cigarette and drinking some whiskey. And I had this like talk with the spirit of my unborn child, of saying like, hey buddy, like, I'm sorry we never got to do any of this. I went through all the things that you would do in a child's life as a father. And I was like, I'm sorry. And it's just not the time right now, but I know your spirit will come back to me, and, until then, I poured one out for him, and I was like, when you're 21, we'll have a drink together. And, so, kind of was at peace with that. And, went back and was able to be, the next day was able to be the rock for my family that was having a hard time with letting go of this child. And, I don't know. It was weird. It was just, I needed that moment to say goodbye. but also know it wasn't goodbye. For some reason, I just had that in the back of my head. So fast forward, like two or three more years, and everything's going good. I graduated school. We had moved to a nicer neighborhood. I got a good job. Everything's going pretty good. We were over my older son was in kindergarten. We were over the whole like kind of, tantrum age and all that stuff. And it was just like, okay, I was totally cool with where my life was. And so my wife calls me, and her stepmother is a gynecologist or an OBGYN or whatever. And someone came in her office that wanted to have an abortion. And she had talked them into giving the baby up for adoption. And my wife was like, do you want to adopt this baby? Like, I think it could be a private adoption. And my first reaction, probably at least for the first day, was no. Hell no. I'm fine where everything is. I don't want a new baby. It's going to be super expensive and all this stuff, right? Just kind of a very, that was just my gut reaction, was just, no. I'm good. I'm comfortable. I don't want any change. And then, so after talking about it, it just was like too much stuff, piled up that this was like meant to be. For instance, this woman that came in wasn't a client of my wife's stepmother. She was supposed to see someone else who called in sick that day, and just ended up seeing, out of all the other OBs in the office, ended up seeing my stepmother-in-law. And she, was dead set on getting an abortion because she was young. She already had 2 kids. There was some bizarre, some terrible situations around this pregnancy, and she just didn't want the child. And so when my stepmother-in-law said, would you be up for adoption? I mean, she was like, well, do you know anyone who would want to take this baby? And she was like, yeah, I think I do, and so that's where we came into the picture. And we met with the mother, and she had, the ultrasounds, and was like, it's a boy if you want a boy, and we were like, yeah, that's fine, and that was it. We went through, the whole process of home evaluations and all of this stuff. I mean, it's even if you have the child lined up, it's still crazy expensive. It's still, it's still a very long process. I mean, the whole process set us back financially for years. But I can't imagine not having gone through it. And it's totally like, I don't know. I never think about the fact that one of my children is biologically mine and one isn't, because their souls are united with me and were meant to be. And, just all the stuff that came about, like we didn't look into adoption at all. This just totally fell in our lap at a time where we were available to do it. And it's just a crazy scenario. I don't know if that's really synchronicity or not, but I want to lead that into another story that actually, like, kind of, to me, was like a synchronicity, but it also is kind of the third part to my videos where I talk about the flaming lips. And that was last summer, to where, my younger son is a very strong-willed, determined child that is very, very hard to raise. He's very fun and very exciting, but he's very, very hard. And that's kind of what led me to quit my job. There was reasons I wanted to quit my job, but the problems we were having with my son and everything was what made me feel like I had to quit my job, honestly. Um, and it was just kind of the final straw of like, okay, I gotta do the stay-at-home dad thing, even though it scares the crap out of me. And so I went through one whole school year of that and just really being, overwhelmed. It sent me to therapy. Um, you know, I made it led me to make these videos as kind of a therapy, to just talk about stuff and everything. But it was very, very trying to have, um, you know, to be a stay-at-home dad after working and stuff like that, especially to a really tough kid. And so this is about 6 months after I started the YouTube channel, and was like right about the time I was starting to feel like people were starting to contact me and stuff, and I was starting to feel like maybe I'm on the right path here. Like, even though I don't feel that way with the stay-at-home parenting, like, I'm making progress with him. He's a really cool kid. He's and I'm really starting to bond with my older son too, and he's starting to be into the things I'm into, and I was just really starting to feel good about my role as a parent. And just about that time, that I'm making all these like kind of, should I go back to work after this school year? Should I do this? Blah, blah, blah. I, get a Facebook thing about a music festival that's coming, and the Flaming Lips are playing at it. And it's like 20 minutes from my house, but not in the city. It is in Wayne Township, or it's like Wayne Township, and then like the municipal thing or whatever is Waynesville. And the Flaming Lips, whose lead singer is Wayne Coyne, who, if you go back to my 5 gram video a year ago, where I was like going, Wayne, I just need Wayne, I need Wayne. And then I saw him at the airport. That validated everything I went through in that difficult trip the night before. Wayne was there. And so after I'm looking for validation from the universe or whatever, for the path that I'm putting myself out, Wayne comes to Waynesville for a music festival that doesn't have many other bands that I wanted to see on it. And so as soon as those tickets went up for sale, I was like, we're going, and luckily, I mean, it was a nice enough festival that you could take kids for free. So I got to take my my oldest son and it was also right after my wife and I's 10-year anniversary, where if you watch my other video, we basically, like, I fell in love and decided to marry her 10 years prior to that at a Flaming Lips concert. And then so fast forward 10 years, and we're taking our 9-year-old son to his first real concert that he'll remember. And it's the Flaming Lips. And I mean, he has a blast. Because I was with my kid, I microdosed, but I didn't trip at it, but it's a super trippy show. And so we're hanging out, and like, everyone's like, he's one of the only kids there, and I'm holding them up because they bounce balloons all over and everything like that. And everyone around us is so like peaceful and positive. Like, they're pushing balloons over to him so he could hit them or pop them or whatever. And it's just like, I mean, he's having the time of his life. It's the greatest concert in the world if anyone's ever been to one. And especially if you're a kid, there's confetti everywhere and lights, and it's crazy. And then so Wayne does, if anyone's ever seen it, Wayne gets in this ball and rolls out on the crowd. And he rolls out to about 10 feet from us and is right there singing David Bowie, Space Odyssey, like right in front of us, looking at us. I mean, he's got a flashlight that he shines on people. He's shining it right at us. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the connection here, And, again, I don't attribute that to psychedelic usage. I think these are kind of the things in the universe that are always like happening that we just kind of ignore because of our own, we're caught up in everyone else's bullshit. and we don't notice the universe that's laid out in front of us. And so every now and then, and you can call it machine elves, you can call it aliens, you can call it ghosts, whatever. It's or our ancestors or whatever you want to call it. There is an intellectual force, well, not intellectual, an intelligent force that is, laying out the path for us. And every now and then, I really do think it puts out something for us to see as a way to go like, you're doing it right. Keep ahead, don't get down on yourself. Or also just to brag, I don't know. To be like, hey, look what I can do. I don't know. I've heard people say that theory, and I can buy that too. But I try to think that that's not very motivational to me. I try to look for motivation in everything. And, I really think that if you use these coincidence and synchronicity, if you use them as motivation, even if there isn't a predestined path or anything like that, it will be easier for you to blaze your own path, knowing that there's a connection to everything. And so for some reason, that connection for me is Wayne Coyne of the Flaming Lips. I've lived near Waynesville for a while, but I've never thought like, oh, Wayne Coyne, like it's just whatever, And then when I saw the Flaming Lips were playing in Waynesville, I was like, are you kidding me? And it was the summer of my wife and I's 10-year anniversary and all the scenarios around the Flaming Lips. And it was just kind of this like culmination of, I don't know, this weird lifetime that I'm living, that we're all living. But, like I said, it motivates me, even if it doesn't mean anything, it at least motivates me. And I urge everyone to find that and notice connections in your own life that possibly mean something or at least motivate you. Again, I want to thank anyone that sat through that video thinking I was going to talk about psychedelic drugs or anything, but I was just kind of opening up there, telling a little story that I could go on and on about. This is a half hour. I could, talk about that. I summed it up as much as I could in a half hour. Let's put it that way. The other thing I wanted to say too about, kids, like, that's the way the kids came into my life. The real, that's a heroic dose. Being a parent is a heroic dose. It is so hard. You have to give up so much of your own life and your own, dreams and aspirations, and money and time. You have to give all these up to raise another person. And you're constantly being told by people that you're not doing it right. And so you're constantly, second guessing yourself and everything you do. And when you're having a bad day and you let your kid just watch a screen all day, you're like, and you're constantly like this battle. You're looking for, the right way to do things and whatever. And, I think if you just follow kind of the path that how your kids came into your life and you follow that for how you're going to raise them and raise them to be the kind of people you want to be, like, don't worry about if you're doing it right or not. Some amazing people have come out of terrible situations, and it's hard to remember that. So when I say, parenting is the real heroic dose in life, it really is. And maybe not heroic dose, but where does the term heroic dose come from? It comes from the hero's journey, which is a literary, kind of structure for storytelling, but it's a real thing that we go through in life. And parenting and sharing your life with people is a hero's journey. And so I've reached a lot of people through this, but I think the most common people that write to me are people that are either, psychonauts that became parents or parents that are trying to become psychonauts. And I think the parental wing of modern psychedelia seems to kind of be gravitating towards my videos and stuff like that. So I hope they watch that. I hope you, if you're a parent that's, has similar stories or whatever, I hope you watch this and get some motivation from it. But at the very least, for people that have been following this channel and the podcast and stuff like that, at least you know a little bit more about me now, and I hope you enjoyed my story. And again, like I said at the start, thank you guys. Thank you everyone that has done whatever you can to get this ball rolling and really it's starting to pick up steam, and I hope we continue to do more in the next year and the year after that and the year after that. And I can't wait to see where all this goes and the people we meet. So, and again, one last thing, Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern, the celebratory 1-year anniversary live stream split with Stan and I. I hope to see you guys there. And yeah, that's it. So thanks again, guys. And till next time, let's help find the others.